Welcome to Curious Kim Dennis. This is a channel where I talk about everything that I'm curious about. And today I'm curious about Lance Dennis, who is a veteran. He served with the Australian Army for 16 years as a paratrooper with the 3rd Battalion for the Royal Australian Regiment. He had 4 deployments. 3 of those were in East Timor and 1 in Afghanistan. So thanks a lot for joining me today, Lance.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah, good. So you served from 1994 to 2015?
Yes, correct.
Yep. And you've been out of service, out of serving for your country for a few years now.
Yes.
How's that going for you?
Now it's a lot better than what it was.
What was it?
What it was a change of conditioning, and to be quite honest, I didn't know what I was going through at that time. I left the army quite quickly. I was discharged within 3 weeks because I just couldn't do it anymore, and I got a job where I was paid a lot more than what I was in the army, and part of the conditions, if that happens, you can get a accelerated discharge. So that was probably the worst thing that I could have done, because I didn't take into account that I had been conditioned for such a period of time, and then the transfer into the civilian world and the integration, it was a real challenge, and I didn't take that into account.
Okay, so what would you have done differently if you had your time over again?
What I would have done differently, I would have... that is a really good question, because at the time you don't know that there's anything wrong, and you don't realise that there is a integration process. So just thinking out loud now, I suppose I would have attempted to integrate a lot more than what I did firsthand. Again, just basically learn how to be a civilian, learn how to integrate into society. And
what would integration look like?
Integration would be, just basic things, sorting out your Medicare, doing a normal 9 to 5, working with civilians, getting retrained as well into a role that you're more suited to and that you actually enjoy.
What role did you go to?
First up, I went to construction. So, as you know, our sister's husband, Don, he owns a construction company, and I was actually going to go into the mines. And so I went and did a underground induction course, and then that put into my mind, that there's work out there, and the mine seemed like a good fit. So I attempted to get a job in the mines. I didn't realise how hard it was, and I was told that there would be jobs coming up, but I would have to leave in an instant if a position became available. So I reached out to Don.
Yeah.
And I told him the scenario, and I just said, I'd like to come and work for you, but just know that I'll be leaving if I do get a job in a coal mine. So I did that for, I think, about 3 months, and it didn't go down the coal mine path. I went and did a Cert 3, Cert 4 in fitness, and became a PT instead.
Okay, yeah. And do you have other friends who are veterans now?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and what are those relationships like?
They're quite strong. Again, and that just seems to be the common theme. Once you do leave the army, it's a relief to be out of the army, but then to find identity and purpose outside of what you were. And that seems to be the struggle across the board pretty much for at least all the veterans I know. And it's telling with all the other soldiers that are going through, PTSDs and all that kind of thing. It's more common than not.
So what does PTSD come from?
PTSD comes from being in a high tempo environment. It's not so much seeing people blown up and this, that, and the other thing. It's more or less, or the way that I understand it anyway, and what really speaks to me is that it's a condition of conditioning. So you're pretty much set in a way, and you don't realise the wear and tear that it does take on your body. And in essence, that's trauma. It's overworked. You're pushing your body beyond its capabilities, and it's pretty much just your body shutting down and reliving certain experiences over and over again and all that kind of thing. So it goes hand in hand. It's not just as simple as say that it's one particular thing. It's a culmination of certain things.
Sounds like physical burnout.
Physical burnout, also mental scarring, and all that kind of thing as well. Not being able to let go of traumatic situations or being anchored in one specific moment.
Okay, so as a paratrooper, was that different to the other regiments?
Yeah. So our role, we were airborne, and so we operated with the Air Force a lot. And so our primary role was to seize and secure a point of entry, meaning we jump into a drop zone, secure that drop zone, and allow our follow-on forces to land and take the fight to the enemy, so to speak. And so that was our primary role. We would secure an airfield, allow that point of entry, and then we'd be tasked accordingly once that was achieved.
Okay, so just getting back to your veteran mates,
Yep.
What do their lives look like now? Are they married? Are they?
There's not one particular story that suits everybody. Like a lot of my mates, anyway, they've had their own struggles. Some are married, some have got busted marriages. Some don't have any partners. Some still have a heavy reliance on alcohol and drugs, and some don't even know that they've got issues. Perfect example. I received a phone call last week from a guy that I served with in Afghanistan. I remember talking to him probably about 8 months ago at a birthday of one of my other veteran friends. We met up, and he just told me his story and what he was going through, and I told him what it was, because I could see that I went through exactly what he went through.
Could I ask what he was going through?
Same kind of thing, just burnout, overworking, not taking any time to rest. He was just always on the chase, just chasing the next thing. Couldn't keep still, angry outbursts, family life going to shit, so to speak. And he just didn't know what the answer was. And the common response is that the veteran thinks that it's them. By nature, we don't ask for help because we're soldiers. And I won't say it's a weakness in the army. It's just something that you don't do. Like you get on and soldier on, essentially. And so it serves its purpose in the army as well. It really does, because you're part of this massive team. You've got a task to do. You're around people who are high tempo, intense, and we're all doing the same thing. But what I found, and what I see in other veterans now, especially the guy that I'm just talking about, you try and bring that kind of thought process and behaviour into civilian world, and it just doesn't fit.
It's intense.
It is very intense.
Yeah.
And then you find yourself just getting frustrated, angry at people, short-tempered, because the civilian and the military temperament is completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like PTSD.
Yes.
Right? So that's pretty much across the board what everybody's being diagnosed with.
Yeah.
Yeah. What sort of treatments work for PTSD and veterans?
Well, I'll just talk
among your mates.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just talk about my own personal experience and the treatments that I've been through, and it started off as a conventional treatment. So going to a psychiatrist, and then the psychiatrist prescribes drugs. Right. What I found was personally is that that didn't help at all.
Why not?
What it
happened?
does, it masks the symptoms and gives you temporary relief instead of going to the root cause and actually ripping the root out, so to speak. So
that sounds intense.
It is. It is. Well, that's.
How would one do that?
Well, what I did after trying to seek treatment in a more conventional sense, I then went over to Bali, and I did meditations and all that kind of thing. Or that was the intention anyway. But I found myself drinking myself into oblivion. And so that didn't work. And then I came back to Australia when COVID hit from Bali. And then I met somebody who told me about plant medicine. And I did that, and it changed everything. It was a game changer. That was the answer for me. In saying that as well, I've had a few veterans that I've taken along with me for the journey.
For the plant medicine journey?
Yes, for the plant medicine journey. They've been going through the same sort of treatments, the psychiatrist and the prescription drug route and all that kind of thing, and it hasn't helped. It just, over a prolonged period of time, it makes things worse, a lot worse. And
when you say a lot worse, can you talk about anything that is a lot worse, or can you tell me what a lot worse looks like?
A lot worse looks like it gives you a false sense of security, but then it also dulls the human spirit. It dulls who you are. You don't function. You're very tired. You're very lethargic, and it's just not good. It's not good for the human body. Like it really isn't. A lot of the blokes that I know, they've got issues with kidneys and livers and all that kind of thing, and just their emotional states are just so up and down. So it's a short-term solution, but that's all it is. But a lot of these guys have been on these kinds of medications for decades, and it's not helpful. And that's talking from experience.
Okay, so when you say plant medicine, can you be specific about the plant and the plant as a medicine?
Yes, I can. So I was using ayahuasca, and I heard about ayahuasca back in 2009, and so I've always been interested in it, or just interested in it. And I had the opportunity to sit for my first ayahuasca ceremony in 2020. And after that first ceremony, I knew it was the treatment for me, and I went on a intensive journey for about 2 years.
Okay, and so how is your life now, pre-plant medicine, in comparison to now?
It's a complete 180. I'm a lot more open. I'm a lot connected to my heart as well. And I always thought that was like a fluffy term, alongside with PTSD. A lot of the psychiatrists were telling me, and psychologists as well, that you've got to be more open-hearted and all that kind of thing, but they don't give you any methods on how to do that. They give you a couple of breathing techniques and say, pop this pill and everything will be fine. What I found that plant medicine does, it really does connect you to your heart, and it really does allow you to experience who you really are, and it really allows you to investigate where these traumas and where all this kind of stuff is sitting. And
so what does that do for you when you know where the traumas are sitting?
Well, it also gives you a release. The best way that I can explain the ayahuasca experience is that it vibrates your body at a certain vibration. That certain vibration matches a frequency, and I tend to say that frequency is the frequency of God. This is the best way that I can explain it. And so you're sitting in a frequency of holiness. Your physical body, because it's essentially been in hell, it shakes all the bad stuff out of you, and then you purge, okay, and you vomit. And I know that's got a bad connotation towards it, but that's exactly what it does. And as soon as you purge, or as soon as you vomit, you feel a release straight away. It's your body releasing all that stress, all that trauma, all the bad habits, just all out in once. And
sounds like toxic waste.
Well, yeah. Well, that's pretty much exactly what it is. And what I learned, and I'm still learning about it as well, like it just really blows my mind in terms of the connection you have to yourself and the connection you have to your heart, and you're just able just to get out of your head, which is not helpful at all. And another point with that as well, so what I've learned through experience and through practice is that our head is so, like our brain is so primal, it's there to keep us alive, nothing more, nothing less. I know myself, and I can speak for a lot of people, and there's a lot of other people going through this. It's not just veterans. Like, it's turning into a epidemic, to be quite honest.
What is?
All the PTSD and all the severe anxiety, all the stresses and everything.
Well, you've got police, you've got nurses, you've got,
police,
fire brigade,
nurses, emergency services, ex-defence, people in defence, all this kind of thing.
Corporate
And
burnout.
corporate burnout, mothers, you know, single fathers, everybody who's highly stressed in that high tempo environment would understand what I'm talking about. And you try and work it out in your head, and you try and do this and you try and do that. But as soon as you do that, you're living in your head, you know, and you just can't connect to anything. And so
Is this what you're saying, connecting to your heart?
connecting
Connecting
to
to your heart helps you connect to everything.
connecting to your heart connects you to your soul, essentially, and it doesn't allow all the white noise, you know,
The stories.
all the stories and all the loops and everything like that. That's for thinking. This is for feeling. If you feel your way through things, it's a much better way to operate as opposed to reacting, you know. And that's another point with PTSD. It's a mechanism in your brain that identifies danger, and it just has a overacting response.
So is that fight or flight?
Fight or flight, exactly, and it's in overdrive. So you're either fighting or you're flighting. You know, I think as well. Like another point to note is that, and that's how we are geared as human beings, and this is what we're not taught. Like our brains are there essentially to keep us alive, to keep us away from danger. That's it. You know, but we live in this brain way too much. And so hand in hand with the plant medicine as well. Like I've been doing a lot of breath work, meditations and ice baths and all those kinds of things. And that's helped substantially. Just put your body into that beautiful peace state and just primes your body just for a more response rather than a reaction. Like you can really feel into things better.
Yeah. So you're a healthy person.
Yes.
You eat well.
Yes.
Yeah. You have a normal meat eating diet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I do.
Yeah. So what did your diet did your diet change after your experience with ayahuasca?
Yes, it did. I was more aware of the food that I was putting into my body. I was shown like the value of food, essentially. You know,
Shown by who?
by the person who was leading the ceremonies, and
Some say that the plant medicine speaks to them.
yes, well, that's exactly what I was going to say. So it's just all this knowledge that is in the plant, and it's just an understanding rather than something teaching you. Again, you're so attached to your heart, and your heart is open. You just got all this infinite knowledge, you know, stuff that you wouldn't really. Stuff that you really wouldn't understand. You don't have to understand it, you feel it.
Okay, so it sounds like the medication. Are you still on the medication?
No.
So
no,
you don't get prescribed the medication anymore?
No.
Okay, so it sounds like the medication was dulling you from those sensations.
Yeah, for sure.
And the ayahuasca has helped you work through the sensations.
Correct.
So you can live with the sensations without being prescribed drugs to block you from them.
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Correct.
So understanding those, so being able to feel your way through those bad feelings has enabled you to live with them without prescription drugs.
Correct.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And is ayahuasca the only plant medicine that you've used to help treat your PTSD or
No.
the PTSD rather? I'll call it the PTSD.
Yeah.
It's not yours.
Yes.
It's the PTSD.
Yeah, correct. Good word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
No. So I've also used mushrooms as well. My first
Is that psilocybin?
psilocybin, correct? And that's another amazing plant medicine, which has actually just been legalised by the TGA, and I believe psychiatrists are now able to prescribe that for that reason.
The issue that they have at the moment, I believe, is that they don't have enough systems in place to have the psychiatrists and therapists that want to administer
Yes.
psilocybin
Yes.
accredited.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
That's another really valid point. So I'm in talks with a psychiatrist at the moment, and that's exactly what he said. So he's actually going to, I can't remember where he was going, but he's going somewhere to conduct the training for himself, because you're right in what you're saying. There's no formal training or no SOPs, standard operating procedures on how this is actually going to be administered.
Okay, so how did you find that? How did you find psilocybin? What's the difference between psilocybin and ayahuasca for you? In your personal opinion, it's just an opinion.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
just in my personal opinion, it just works completely different. Like, it's hard to put your finger on it. Number one, the ayahuasca is a lot more deeper experience, I found, and especially when you are in a ceremonial setting. And the psilocybin is a more gentle kind of experience, and you just feel a lot better afterwards. Like,
Does that treat? Would that help one come off? So, okay, can you take these plant medicines when you're on prescription drugs? So you're getting prescribed medication.
yes,
Sorry to back it up a little bit. You're
Yes.
getting prescribed medication from the psychiatrist?
yes.
Okay. And were you taking the plant medicine when you were on the prescription medication?
When I first started to do the ayahuasca, I had to stop any prescription medication for a period of 2 weeks, and but I had a really bad experience with. I'll just back up a little bit as well, just so that there's some context to it.
Yeah.
So when I had a full-on breakdown, and it was horrendous. That's when I reached out to.
What does horrendous look like?
Oh, horrendous. It was just terrible. I had no idea what was going on. My head was racing 1,000,000 miles an hour, choppy thoughts everywhere. And it was fight or flight on steroids. I was having a nervous breakdown, and I did not know what it was. I wanted relief, so I went to go and see a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
He saw me for half an hour,
Yeah.
charged me $400,
Right.
gave me 5 repeats of these anti-anxiety tablets.
Yeah.
I went straight to the pharmacy, went and got these tablets, took 2 of them,
5 boxes.
five boxes. I took 2 tablets, and now that I reflect, I don't think they really did anything at all. It was more of a placebo, just wanting that relief and just telling myself that I was relieved. And then 2 days later, I attempted suicide. And
With those tablets?
with those tablets.
Okay. So I'll just note that I know that was what year?
That was in 2017.
I think there's quite a few different dispensary rules now. So I don't think pharmacies are allowed to give you 5 repeats at once, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's pretty scary.
Yeah, it was. It was.
So that's an overdose on prescriptive.
Yeah, correct.
Did you know that you wanted to attempt?
No, it was just an instant feeling. I remember
You were looking for relief
relief, instant relief.
because you were having a breakdown.
having a breakdown, and I was just felt hopeless and weak, and I just wanted to end it. And I remember that day extremely well. In saying that, that's what kind of threw me off prescription drugs, and I knew that it wasn't the answer. And so that's,
Did you continue taking them though?
I did, but in minimal doses, purely because I was so scared of feeling like that again. But then what I found a lot better was breath work and exercise and all that kind of thing, which I wasn't doing the breath work. I was doing a hell of a lot of exercise, obviously, because I was a PT at the time.
Personal trainer?
Yes, correct. And it wasn't until I came back from Bali, that's when I thought something has to change now, because I've tried.
Was the alcohol helping you? So you said that you were drinking a lot. Was it helping you?
It was helping numbing the feelings. And now that's another good conversation as well, because personally, I didn't understand what it was to drink and take drugs to block out thoughts. I thought, or the way that I interpret it is you've got these bad traumas attached to you, and you're trying to block out these events. For me personally, it wasn't about that. It was feeling good. It was all I wanted to do was feel good, and I was sick of feeling low and depressed and everything like that. So it wasn't I was getting all these flashbacks and all that kind of thing. I just didn't like being with myself because I was such in a depressive state. So you drank alcohol and it gave you relief.
Elevation out of those
correct.
feelings that you didn't want to connect with.
Correct.
That makes sense.
Correct.
Yeah. So disconnection from
Correct.
what was really going on.
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
And so I did realise that when I came back to Australia, and that's when everything changed for me big time. And that's when I knew that I was on the healing path, and I was at it for 2 years.
At it being the plant medicine.
Ayahuasca, yes.
Okay. All right. And when did psilocybin come into that?
Well, psilocybin I used as a recreation drug again when I was in Bali, and it was purely just for fun. And it was great. It was so much better than drinking.
Yeah.
And again, you just felt absolutely fantastic. And it's like you're counselling yourself, and it's just like you can come to terms with so many different things in a real logical sense and get a real sense of relief from it. That's what I really liked about psilocybin, and that was in a recreational setting. So I've done 2 ceremonial sittings with psilocybin, and it's been absolutely incredible. We were able to sit with your thoughts, and it's like it's hand in hand, and you're just going through your feelings.
It sounds like you're understanding you're sitting with the thoughts, the bad thoughts, and understanding that they're not necessarily bad.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
That's a
Which
real
brings
solid
you
point.
peace.
That's a real solid point. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think you can see what you went through or you can reframe
You can
it.
understand, reframe.
Yeah. So you can reframe it, and it also becomes a strength because you realise what you've been through was quite intense, and instead of
Feeling weak.
feeling weak and low, and which encourages all those negative feelings in your body. 'Cause
Well,
everything-
self-hatred, self-loathe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. It just pretty much just guides you and just allows you to reframe everything and just flip it into
Okay.
something more positive.
So what's your relationship with alcohol like now?
I don't really drink that much now, to be quite honest. When I'm with my partner, we have a few wines at dinner and all that kind of thing, but it's really just to enjoy it. It's not it's not an avoidance mechanism now. It's to enjoy it with my partner, who absolutely loves wine. And so it's really nice to sit down and, just enjoy some wine with her at dinner and whatnot. It's a real pleasant experience.
Oh, great. So all of your, is your veteran family, if I can call them that, are they all in agreement with your style of thinking toward plant medicine and the results that it's given your life?
The guys that have done the ceremonies with me, it's completely changed them. They're just better parents, better husbands. Businesses are thriving and all that kind of thing. They're not as stressed. You just think and feel things in a completely different way. It's like it allows you to rip out all those negative thoughts and feelings,
sit with the negative thoughts and feelings.
Sit with the negative thoughts and feelings,
Yeah.
and just turn it into something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really, thank you for sharing. That's really, you are my brother. We've never spoken about it like that. It's really quite detailed and very insightful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm happy for you that you found relief.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. If I can ask, you did serve with Ben Roberts-Smith.
Yes.
At one point.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I did.
Okay, so Ben Roberts-Smith was by the Australian Federal Court found. They said that he committed war crimes.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell me what he was like, or what your thoughts are on him?
Yeah. So myself and Ben, we met at the School of Infantry when we were doing our initial employment training, or IET training, and we just clicked straight away. And we were really good mates up until he got selected for SASR in 2003, I think it was either end. No, it was 2003 because we did 2 more 2002. So it was 2003, and we were solid mates. We shared a lot of moments together in terms of he was there when I met my daughter's mother.
Yep.
And so we really, so he was involved in some really key points in my life, and Ben was always a loyal, hardworking, professional soldier, and just a real caring guy, and to see it flip now, like it was when I first heard about the allegations, I was shocked. It just didn't make sense, you know. When I found out that he won his VC and all those kinds of things, like I celebrated it, you know, and it just made sense that a guy like that would be celebrated as such because he was a dominating force. He was a big man, but a real gentle giant at the same time. You know, loved his partner, loved life, absolutely loved being a soldier, and he was just a solid friend, a real good mate. And to hear about these, and I just want to preface, I didn't talk to Ben. Actually, I was the first guy that he called after he got selected into the SASR. He rang me to say that he was selected, and from that point, I didn't hear from him. Then he started his special forces.
And what's special
career.
forces like
It's insane.
in comparison to your serving?
It's intense. Example of that, just
because your time serving sounds very intense to me.
Yeah, it is, and I'll just put this in comparison. When I was in Afghanistan, like it was nerve-wracking over there. You know, essentially we were hunting and being hunted. You know, I was responsible for a group of men, and my biggest fear was bringing everybody home, which I did, thank God. But it's not easy, you know, and it really isn't. Anyway, but my point is that all the special forces guys, their tempo was next level, and they were doing some hard work, and it was non-stop. They were killing a lot of people, you know, a lot of bad people, you know.
What's a bad person?
Taliban, bomb makers, murderers, you know, people who pretty much just take joy in killing people, you know. We were sent to do a job, and we did it. But the special forces guys were the tip of the spear in the sense that they went out and they killed or captured like heads of Taliban group, or they call them high value targets, you know. And where we were living in Afghanistan, we were next to the airfield, and those helicopters did not stop. It was just a constant rotation, night and day, every single day. And they were just burnt out, you know. They just got used to doing it way too much. And I think that I want to preface again, I don't know the story. I've only heard what I've heard. And for anybody who went through that with Ben,
this is just an opinion. This is just a conversation.
Merely just an opinion.
Yeah.
You know, but from the stories that I've heard, like it's pretty bloody graphic, to be quite honest, you know. And as Australian soldiers, that's not how we operate, you know. If they are true, and I just want to preface again that it hasn't been proven in a real court of law. It's been, you know, it's been alleged, or not so much alleged. It's been proven at a lower standard of evidence, if that makes sense. And so we're yet to see what happens through that. But my opinion is simply this: if it's true, I personally believe that it's not his fault, and if anybody takes offence to that, I do apologise. You know, I certainly wouldn't like to be the guy that was involved.
How can it be? How can it not be his fault if he?
Well, number one, he was a corporal, you know, and so which is a lower rank, you know. There were sergeants and above, and if they saw something like this happen, why wasn't it reported? Why wasn't he stopped? You know. Because this stuff does not fly. Like, it's not just you go out and shoot people for the hell of it, you know. That's not how we operate, you know. And so I honestly believe that it must have been a learned behaviour from when he was an up-and-coming SASR trooper, and it just became normal over there. But then you also have to kind of have a understanding, and I'm not saying in any way, shape or form that this is accepted. I'm saying that I can kind of understand the psyche. Whereas you're dealing with these people day in, day out. They're bomb makers. You know that they've killed Australian soldiers and whatnot.
Your soldiers.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, your people, your mates.
Correct. And so it'd get frustrating. And if you're used to killing people and it becomes the norm, and the process as well, like they would capture these people. They would process them, they would hand them over to the Afghanistani authorities, and then 3 days later they were released back into the population. then they'd have to do the whole thing again. Then they go back to doing their bomb making, they'd go back to doing this, they go back to doing that. So from that aspect, you can kind of understand the psyche of it, why you would be pushed or why you would think it would be okay to do those kinds of things. So my point is that he was overworked, leadership was not there at all, and it should have been stopped, and a better psych screening should have taken place to vet these guys when they go back over and do this for 3 months straight.
So if you saw Ben Roberts-Smith now, what would you say to him?
I'd give him a big hug. I did. I went and saw him at the court last year and just gave him a big hug and just said, you've got a lot of support, and it was weird to see him actually.
Did he look different?
Yeah, he did, but he was the same jovial kind of a guy that I knew all the way back then, It's a hard one, like it really, really is. And again, I just apologise if I've offended any of the guys that were directly affected by this, because it's like the allegations and what is proven to be true at a defamation level is pretty intense.
So how does it make you feel when you see all of these reports in the newspapers?
Oh, well, I remember my first response was, when I first watched it on 60 Minutes and whatnot, my first response was, why are these people talking? What happens overseas should stay overseas, because you can't really go, well, my first opinion was you can't really go tell a civilian of what happens in a place like that, because it's completely different. But then again, as I let it settle and as I thought about it, the guys that witnessed these kinds of things, were distraught. It really mucked with them big time, and they thought that it was their duty and it was a good release for them to actually say, this is what happened, X, Y, Z, so that's why it's so tough, because you can really understand both sides of the story, and you can't really lay blame anywhere. But it was
you really can't.
Yeah, no, and it was just such a hard pill to swallow, to be quite honest. To see this guy just get torn down in.
How do the other vets feel that you know? Is it the talk of the veteran society?
Yeah, it is, and a lot of the guys who I still talk to from 3RR, we're all still in support of him, because we knew Ben for who Ben was. And not the story that he's being portrayed as now, And, I just sincerely wish him all the best, and I wouldn't wish this upon anybody. I really wouldn't.
Do you think he's gonna get through this? Do you see a future?
I don't know. No. I don't know. It'd be so tough. Number one, he's gone through all of that, done his life, and he deployed 6 times to Afghanistan, and that's what we know of. And I know that he was involved in a hell of a lot more. He was involved in Iraq. He was involved, in the Black Hawk crash in Fiji. All of his mates got killed in a helicopter crash. He's dealt with his mate being shot, his really good mate, Matthew Locke, got shot, and so he's dealing with that. And then they're sending these people back overseas, So I believe it's a critical error in the chain of command, for sure.
Because everybody is only human at the end of the day.
It's a massive oversight, and I don't care how tough you think you are, everybody's got a breaking point, and everybody's got a threshold, and I think that threshold should have been picked up way before he was allowed to go and continue on doing what he was doing, By the sounds of it, because I've read the books as well, it really sounds like he lost his mind, and it's...
Could that be saved? Because he might be saved in your... personal opinion?
Well, that's going to be up to him, because he's got a lot to contend with. He was a national hero, and now he's a cold-blooded murderer. I don't know how anybody would be able to deal with that. He had a senior executive role with Seven.
Yeah.
He was commanding $25,000 per talk for his corporate talks.
Do you feel, as a personal... in a personal sense, do you feel supported by Australia as a veteran? How do you feel in society?
I think it's a band-aid, to be quite honest, and I think a lot more work needs to be done.
What sort of work?
especially around the discharge process.
Yep.
Which I had a chat with a couple of mates who were still serving, and I spoke to them last year, and they said that discharge process now does take 6 months.
Oh, great.
Which is
Okay,
absolutely
so
fantastic.
if it was today and you wanted to leave the army, they wouldn't let you discharge in 3 weeks.
Correct.
Okay,
Like
you'd have to have more thought about it.
Yes, and it's also a proper transition, and so you're retrained. You go and have work experience. What I said at the start of the chat, that's exactly what they're doing now, or that's what I'm being
Integrating you back into
in society.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually finding
Making sure
work.
that you're ready.
Correct.
Okay. Fantastic.
Correct.
Oh, good.
Which is so much better.
It's evolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So we'll just close on this question. If we had a perfect world, what would it look like?
Oh my God! If we had a perfect world, it'd just be everybody more conscious, more conscious of their thoughts, more conscious of their feelings, not being scared to love, not being scared to be vulnerable, not being scared to fail. Just a lot more open with yourself, and in turn, once you're open and you really love yourself and you can understand yourself, and you're in more connection with your heart, it's a much better life for you and everybody else.
I'm curious. Are you about to sing Imagine by John Lennon?
Well, you know what? He was on the money, you know, and
do you like that song?
I love that song.
Imagine.
And Imagine. And that's exactly what it is, you know. That's another key thought as well. Like John Lennon had a beautiful song and they killed him. So, you know, that's the state of the world now, you know, and it's been the case, you know, for numerous years, you know, these life-changing, cultural-changing people who are trying to get us into our heart more.
Or maybe his song has lived on.
Well, that's a solid point as well. You know what? That's a beautiful thing to say. So it's not just about physical; it's the legacy that you leave. Yeah, so I like that.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, thank you very much. That was Lance, and yes, Lance is my brother. Okay, thanks very much, Lance. Really appreciate your time here on Curious Kim Dennis, where I talk about everything that I'm curious about. Really appreciate it. That was a really good chat. So, thanks. Hope you liked that episode. Subscribe to Curious Kim Dennis. If you've got any feedback, please paste them in the comment box below. I'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. Also, if you have something you think I might be curious about, if you can't talk about it, I'll probably want to talk about it. Get in touch with me at curiouskimdennis.com and you'll hear from me soon. And I look forward to the next episode. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed it.